There's nothing that's more difficult for me than disappointing the Xbox community.
Xbox has been in the freaking dirt for years now. And at this point, I don't know what it's going to take for these suckers to start finally picking up the broken pieces and rebuilding themselves back up into the brand that we used to know with the Xbox 360.
They shut down not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 studios.
And that means that Xbox has now closed more studios than it's released games this year.
The way I see it, best thing we can do is let the week go. Move on, get our money, start over.
This is a studio that was on the rise. You can tell they're very talented. They knocked it out of the park with Hi-Fi Rush, gave Xbox some of the best press they've received in a while. And what does Microsoft do?
No!
Gaming.
And the Game Award goes to Hi-Fi Rush.
Not that you care too much about that, you rats. All of you.
When Tango wants to go do Hi-Fi, when everybody probably thought they were doing Evil Within 3, I want to give the teams the creative platform to go and push their ability, push their aspirations.
You're all liars, and all goodwill is now completely thrown out the window. I am now back to being extremely skeptical about Xbox.
So the idea of flushing a humongous amount of their pool of talent down the toilet right now at a time when they need games more than ever, it's absurd. It's beyond absurd.
It feels like the final straw. I've never seen this much criticism and negativity surrounding Xbox right now because of what they've just done.
It's not that hyperbolic to say that Xbox did die a little bit. It died in my heart a little bit.
I don't get you. Don't get you no more.
Microsoft is in a situation where I really feel like they have no idea what to actually do with their brand anymore.
Oh, the doubting. The doubting.
When you have a successful studio, when you have a successful game, and you still get completely shut down.
You did everything right.
Everybody laid off. You did everything right. What does that tell future people that work for Microsoft, that get purchased by Microsoft?
Means no one's safe.
If these two aren't safe with a $3 trillion company backing them, nobody is safe. Nobody in the games industry is safe. No studio you love is safe. Everyone is at risk of being shut down.
It's just good business. This is a world where nothing is solved. And someone once told me time is a flat circle.
What's up, everybody? This is the Act Man here, and today, in this video, you will learn why the Xbox brand is failing, why they're not producing or releasing many top-tier titles anymore, how Phil Spencer's Game Pass business model is inherently flawed, and why nearly all of the major franchises from the 360 era are either dead on life support or taking an indefinite vacation. Happy times! Today you will learn why the Xbox continues its never-ending decline. Are you ready to stop being a casual? Studies show that 9 out of 10 gamers who install Opera GX will not only touch grass, but feel the warmth of a woman's touch within the first month. Scholars believe this is because Opera GX is the best internet browser for gamers. GX gives you an insane amount of customization in your browsing experience with GX mods. There are thousands to choose from, and I immediately picked Dark Souls because I have gotten good. These mods change everything from keyboard sounds, themes, and the color of your browser. You can install as many mods as you like, mix and match between them, and swap easily. It's super simple, and it makes Opera GX stand out amongst the hordes of generic internet browsers. One of Opera's coolest features is GX Corner. Conveniently found on the sidebar, GX Corner keeps track of tons of upcoming games, their release dates, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, hell yeah. It also shows games that are on sale, new trailers for recently announced titles, and the latest news in the world of gaming. Opera GX is perfect for me because I like staying up to date on everything that's going on. And GX Corner keeps all of this important stuff in one place so I don't need to open 100 different tabs for it. It's time to get a browser that's as cool as you are. And you can download it using my link in the description and pinned comment. Download and use Opera GX today, and thank you Opera for sponsoring this video.
And now for something completely different.
When I made this video 4 years ago, I thought 4 years later, things would get better. They have not. Recently, IGN reported that Microsoft is shutting down multiple studios, including Arcane Austin, developers of Redfall, Alpha Dog Games, and Roundhouse Studios. But most notably, the developers of Ghostwire Tokyo, Evil Within 1 and 2, and Hi-Fi Rush were shut down. Tango Gameworks. This is a character-defining choice for Microsoft and Xbox. When faced with this moral dilemma, they did not tag along with John. They went back for the money. This is of course devastating for the people who work at these studios, but Microsoft was there to make us chuckle a little bit by launching a brand new controller. Feel the burn.
So, you want to know if I can feel it?
But to all the unfortunate developers who were laid off, at least Microsoft is giving you this fancy backpack and some swag. Bro, are you for real? You want merch from the company that just laid you off? Now, if your brain is hurting already, don't worry, the pain is going to get much worse, to the point where you too will develop a tumor so debilitating that you qualify for a position in Xbox leadership. It's going to take time to fully understand how mind-boggling these shutdowns are, and what a terrible impact this is likely to have on Microsoft and Xbox in the future. Well, in my opinion, Xbox has had 11 great, phenomenal years, and 11 years of getting shit-faced at the bar, constantly telling everyone they're gonna be back on top. And I think I've finally seen through all the lies and deception that I've been told by Xbox leadership, the stuff that I bought into. I think I've finally unplugged from all of that. Xbox has become so far detached from what initially drew me to it that I can't even describe what the brand is anymore. I can tell you what it used to be. Xbox was the console that proved we Americans could do it too. Not just the Japanese, we could do it too. Xbox was a place for the wackiest, most creative niche games, a stunning variety that covered pretty much every genre imaginable, from snowboarding to boat combat. Xbox was a massive innovator in online gaming, couch co-op, graphics, fidelity, performance, and it pushed the technical limitations of the time. But if you ask me to describe what Xbox is now, I would say it's not Xbox. This is Microsoft Gaming. Welcome to Microsoft Gaming. Would you like to purchase one entertainment product? And even Seamus Blackley, the creator of the original Xbox, laments this revelation as well. Today, Xbox is like an amorphous blob, an all-consuming void hell-bent on assimilating as many studios as possible to throw their games on Game Pass and then discard the studios. In other words, Majin Buu. Today, Xbox is a brand that can't see past its own nose. They can't see anything beyond immediate, short-term gain, because the Activision Blizzard acquisition was $70 billion. That is putting some eyes on Xbox and what they're doing. They need to start producing results. Xbox leadership is in a tight spot, so they're looking for short-term solutions, and they're sabotaging their own efforts to foster long-term successful IPs. You see, Microsoft has all these different studios that they've acquired, and they have huge pools of talent under their umbrella. But isn't it odd that a $3 trillion software company could have so much trouble creating software? Seriously, man, why is every single Xbox game I'm excited for delayed, rebooted, going through development troubles, or announced 5 years ago and then never talked about again? Well, I'll answer that question later in this video. The point is, the one studio that seemingly had their shit together, Tango Gameworks, a studio based in Japan, a market that Xbox has consistently failed to break into, who just released a Game Award winning, critically acclaimed title, this is the studio you get rid of? Excuse me one moment. Nope, still doesn't make sense. I didn't kill enough brain cells.
Congratulations, sir! You have just given me my $1 million!
Huh, great. What do I win?
Nothing! Now get out!
What?
Get the fuck out!
If we reduce the number of employees for better short-term financial results, employee morale will decrease. I sincerely doubt employees who fear that they may be laid off will be able to develop software titles that could impress people around the world. Where did this quote come from? Well, would you look at that? It's former Nintendo CEO Satoru Iwata, who said this after taking a 50% pay cut after the financially disastrous launch of the Wii U, so he wouldn't have to lay off any staff. Anybody at Microsoft or Xbox willing to take a pay cut to keep this incredible studio around? Anybody? Anyone?
You and Microsoft Games CEO Phil Spencer have been raising kind of the alarm that the video game industry is just not growing, and there's a real need to figure out how to reverse that. What's causing the issue, and how does Xbox turn it around?
Yeah, the last year or so in video games, largely the industry's been flat.
Is that who I think it is? Why, yes, it's Capcom, celebrating their 7th consecutive year of record high profits. They're making more money than they ever have before in the company's 44-year history. What's their secret? Video game sales?
It's impossible!
What's this? Salary increases for all employees?
No!
Surely Capcom has to be like a $4 trillion company to afford such extravagant treatment for their employees and staff, right? Oh God, oh no, oh holy shit, oh this. This is what you don't get, Xbox and Microsoft. The words in these 2 articles. This is also why you haven't and why you will probably never break into the Japanese market. Make good product, sell product, make money back, pay employees. Employees who make good product are happy and keep working on next product. Slow down there, Ackman. It's a little too complicated, okay? Microsoft, being as big as they are, probably thinks they can toss out whoever they want and throw a bunch of money at a replacement, and that solves the issue.
I just don't think we're all interchangeable. I think things change when you change the people. That's why my motto is always be nice to the goose, is because I think the goose that lays the golden egg, it's not the egg that you need to care about, it's the goose, and the goose is the team.
We're seriously talking about mistakes that continue to be made. Since 2007, Microsoft is notorious for killing every golden goose they get their hands on. Phil Spencer praised Hi-Fi Rush and said that players could expect to see more AAA titles from Japan. What is going on, Phil?
What is happening to us? What's happening to you?
This is the first of many problems with the Tango shutdown. Microsoft is once again closing the doors on the Japanese market. Now, only Japanese developers who want to commit seppuku are likely to work with them. This is all besides the point that Tango Gameworks was extremely talented. They were founded by Shinji Mikami for Leon Kennedy's sake, the genius behind Resident Evil 4. What did he have to say about Tango's shutdown? Sad. Here's the thing, not every studio is capable of tackling different genres to the same level of success. A lot of them get stuck doing the same thing. So when a studio like Tango is able to swap from horror to action rhythm beat 'em up, and it turns out amazing, you've got some serious talent and creativity over there. You should nurture this golden goose, and you strangled it again. But let's hear Microsoft's side of the story, because there has to be a good explanation for this, right? So Matt Booty is the head of Xbox Game Studios, and he was the one who sent out the email to staff informing them of the shutdowns. Today I'm sharing changes we are making to our Bethesda and ZeniMax teams. These changes are grounded in prioritizing high-impact titles and further investing in Bethesda's portfolio of blockbuster games. I posted this video at the perfect time. It's just like I told you. They're going bigger games, bigger budgets, doubling down on established IPs, no new creative ideas, just stick with what's safe. We're gonna make fewer games with longer development times. Yes! Yes! The release schedule was too fast for Xbox's first-party titles. We slow it down more. Fun fact, video game production cycles have gotten so long that if a big-budget game studio started working on a brand new project today, it would likely be for the PS6. Fuck yes, I'm so excited for this game that had a cringy trailer 4 years ago and haven't heard anything since. I'm so fucking hyped for it. Wait a second. Prioritizing high-impact titles. That's bizarre terminology I've never heard before. That's what it is, because they wanted to have a high impact on Game Pass subscriptions, which have been declining steadily recently. Surely Microsoft isn't putting all their eggs in one basket and betting big on Game Pass, right? To double down on these franchises and invest to build new ones requires us to look across the business to identify the opportunities best positioned for success. Do you have dementia? You're looking to invest in successful new IPs? Does he know? This is head of Xbox Game Studios, and he doesn't even know what Hi-Fi Rush is? What? Hold on.
Yes, yes, yes. Fuck. Yeah.
It's starting to make sense now. Everything's coming together exactly as I planned.
It all makes sense now.
No, it damn well doesn't.
But on the real, this is a really bad sign when, like, the same day you're shutting down a studio you're looking for, you say you're looking for studios, just like the one you shut down. So you can't really trust Xbox leadership when they say stuff like this. And what you'll find throughout a lot of their statements is that they contradict their actions all the fucking time. Also, we have to look across the business to identify the best opportunities? You don't have to, just look at a tweet from your vice president of marketing. Hi-Fi Rush was a breakout hit for us and our players in all key measurements and expectations. We couldn't be happier with what the team at Tango delivered with this surprise release. Overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam and Metacritic, best audio design at the Game Awards. This is like getting straight A's and your principal says you need to be held back in school. Like, what the fuck? We are making these tough decisions to create capacity to increase investment in other parts of our portfolio and focus on our priority games. Tough decisions? We have more than enough money to buy all of you, but not enough money to keep you. Actually, JK, we do have money to open a brand new sweatshop a week after closing 4 studios. What the fuck is happening? As we look to the future, there's an impressive lineup of games on the horizon. In 2024 alone, we have DLC, new game, DLC. I love how Matt doesn't even mention Hellblade 2, a game that Microsoft isn't promoting at all and releases in, like, now. As we look to the future, there's an impressive lineup of games on the horizon. There sure is. I'm really excited for that Perfect Dark reboot. Oh, Perfect Dark reboot, still in very rough state. A big protracted mess. But I'm sure a new trailer for Fable is coming around the corner. I mean, that was one of my favorite RPGs on the original Xbox. Development is slow due to Playground's inexperience with RPGs. Fantastic. What about State of Decay 3? That's looking pretty good, isn't it? Troubled development with State of Decay 3. Okay, do we get any games? Any games? Ah, Rare. They're working on something new, right? Everwatch. Don't expect Rare's gorgeous new IP to launch anytime soon. It's been rebooted. Okay. Microsoft owns Obsidian. And Obsidian always comes in clutch. I bet their new game is coming. Avowed has been rebooted several times. Now you know why Matt Booty is saying they have incredible games on the horizon, but lists 3 DLCs and 1 game. But speaking of Fable, remember when Microsoft shut down Lionhead Studios? And they were like, it was one of the biggest missteps.
We acquired Lionhead in 2006, shut it down in 2016. A couple years later, we reflected back on that experience. What did we learn? How do we not repeat our same mistakes?
Then you've learned nothing.
What makes someone a failure is not the act of failing, but learning nothing from it. You have learned nothing with all the studio shutdowns. Xbox leadership continues to fail, learn nothing, and keep making the same mistakes decade after decade. Splatoon is a great example of how if you foster a sleeper hit, it can become an enormous franchise all on its own. At Xbox, if you make a sleeper hit, they fire you. If buying games doesn't support the studio, give me one good reason to buy a single Microsoft game ever again. Well said. Does Xbox even remember how the PS3 managed to pull ahead? Remember when Uncharted 2 was such a sensation that gave back the prestige Sony needed to make their console a necessity? Notice how there's a 2? Because Naughty Dog was allowed to make a sequel that was a bigger hit. It's funny you say that because the real reason Tango was shut down is because they were pitching a sequel and wanted to hire more staff. What you say? That you only meant what? According to an article from Jason Schreier, Tango was in the process of pitching a sequel. Matt Booty praised Hi-Fi Rush, but did not specify why the studio was shut down. Booty said that the company's studios had been spread too thin, like peanut butter on bread.
I feel thin, sort of stretched, like butter scraped over too much bread.
Booty added that the shutdown of Arcane Austin was not connected to the performance of Redfall. So we have two polar opposites. We have a complete flop, and we have a critically acclaimed borderline masterpiece. Both studios behind them are shut down, and it's not because of how they performed. Jason writes, both Tango and Arcane were looking to hire additional staff as they pitched new projects, which Booty and Braff suggested was the main factor behind their closures. Just further evidence of how disposable you are if you work for Microsoft. I've already talked about the massive fucking contracting issues they have with hiring staff and not keeping them on long enough to learn the engine and code that they're working with on a game. But Jesus, man. The massive Activision Blizzard acquisition has ramped up scrutiny on the Xbox division from leaders at Microsoft. Bingo! Ding, 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 ding! It's time to cut costs so that our profit margins, if we have any, look better, because that's all we're in charge of. So basically, these studios were closed to save money and the asses of Xbox leadership. That's the real answer. The only explanation that makes any sense.
The workers here need to know they ain't ever getting out of that hole they dug themselves into. This world is sick, dark, sad.
Xbox promised to support less sprawling creative titles like Hi-Fi Rush with smaller budgets and lower sales expectations. It didn't matter if a game sold tens of millions of copies as long as it helped bolster the Game Pass library. And herein lies the fatal flaw with Microsoft's strategy. They are no longer interested in developing high-quality games that sell well. They're only interested in boosting their main source of income, Game Pass. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Game Pass. It's great for consumers. And I'm not criticizing the concept of Game Pass. What I'm criticizing is the all-in bet on it. This strategy is not resulting in best-selling games. There seems to be no standard of quality at Microsoft with their first-party titles. And they're sacrificing other means of revenue to funnel everything down a single lane.
You acquire a studio for what they're great at now. And your job is to help them accelerate how they do what they do, not them accelerate what you do.
Looks like Phil had a change of heart, because now all that matters is what can you bring to Game Pass. So some of you are watching this video and you might be thinking, well, Act-Man, that's just business. You shut down the studios and departments that aren't making you money. That's just how it is. We don't like it, but what can you do? Well, let's analyze Microsoft's strategy for making money off of Hi-Fi Rush. A new IP with zero brand recognition is shadow dropped without any marketing. Literally, the marketing budget for Hi-Fi Rush was 62 cents. It's put on Game Pass the same day it comes out, so we're not getting massive sales, but subscriptions, and it was hardly promoted at all after this, but it spread like wildfire because of word of mouth. This is also besides the point that Microsoft had an opportunity to show this game just a few months prior at the 2022 Game Awards, but they were completely absent there.
It's a bad sign when there were more Muppets at the Game Awards than Xbox World Premieres.
So in my humble opinion, for all intents and purposes, Hi-Fi Rush was at worst set up to fail, and at best was given no help from Microsoft. And yet, despite all of these factors, it was a breakout hit in every key metric. If you want to argue that Hi-Fi Rush didn't make enough money and that's why they had to shut the studio down, that fault is 1000% on Microsoft. Leadership fucks up and the talent gets axed. This is why Xbox's current business model of all-in bet on Game Pass is not sustainable long-term. There's a great post that sums everything up, so pause if you want to read it all. But here's a highlight. The biggest paradox with Game Pass is that basically every game that launches on the service badly misses its sales goals. Makes sense though. Why pay full price to buy a game when you can play it for free as part of your subscription? Microsoft says it needs games like Hi-Fi Rush the day after killing its studio. I can't do this anymore, man. We need smaller games that give us prestige and awards. This is the guy in charge of Xbox. What is he saying and doing? Again, look at Capcom. They are soaring right now because of video game sales. So what's the plan, Microsoft? You gonna keep gambling? You gonna push COD onto Game Pass? Are you going to risk the guaranteed consistent sales of Call of Duty to boost subscribers for Game Pass? That's risky. In the eyes of Xbox, it seems like the efforts of an individual studio is not important. It doesn't matter how much your game sells or how prestigious and critically acclaimed it is. What matters is your contribution to Game Pass. Did you move the needle a little bit? This sounds like communism. Not enough? No, these awards aren't enough. Where's the award for most Game Pass subscriptions driven? So again, by focusing so much on Game Pass and accessibility, Microsoft is putting their games on Steam. Game Pass applies to PC as well. They're launching their exclusive titles also on PlayStation and other consoles, so there's no real exclusives for Xbox anymore. Everything is multi-platform now, so there's no particular reason to buy a Series X, which is driving down sales of the console, so it's not looking good. I feel like now is a good time to dismantle the bullshit marketing for the Series X being the world's most powerful console, because almost no game is capable of taking advantage of its specs. Hey Phil, how come Starfield only runs at 30 frames? Starfield running at 30 FPS on Series X was a creative choice. Trust, not limited by our commitment to the Series S at all. There hasn't been a killer app for the Series X, and if there has, you can play it somewhere else. See, Microsoft's biggest advantage back in the day was that they knew software really well. So with the original Xbox, all they had to do was make a console that worked with the software they had. This made it much easier to develop games on the Xbox.
At that time, Japanese game consoles had very proprietary chipsets, and they just didn't work very well for, Western developers. What the DirectX group was proposing was, there's a better way to do this. We're going to use PC architecture that you're familiar with, which is just going to work out of the gate, so they could spend more time crafting and building their games.
They had an incredibly developer-friendly story. You already know how to write these games. If you've written them for PC, you can write them for console as well.
This is no longer the case with the Series X. Like I said, all these fucking games are delayed, rebooted, or whatever. Arguably, what was Microsoft's biggest technical advantage in breaking into the console market is now killing them, because Microsoft requires feature parity between the Series X and Series S. Tell me how this is the world's most powerful console when every game has to be designed for hardware that's weaker. Remember when Baldur's Gate 3 came out and there was some confusion about why it wasn't on Xbox? That's because split-screen co-op didn't work on Series S. I'm getting deja vu here, huh? Because of this careless oversight and estimating Baldur's Gate 3 to be worth like $5 million, Microsoft missed out on the first 4 months of sales for the 2023 Game of the Year. What are we doing? What are we doing? They only made an exception 3 weeks after launch because they saw the game explode and thought, uh-oh, we fucked up again. Again, what's the point of owning the world's most powerful console if every game has to be reduced in size, scale, scope, fidelity, technically, everything to run on weaker hardware? I understand wanting to offer gamers a cheaper alternative to the Series X, but in hindsight, it's fucking stupid because you cheapen the experience on the premium console in the quest for accessibility. Here's a head scratcher for you. Why did people stick around with the Xbox 360 despite it being one of the faultiest consoles ever created? Because the games were good. Pick any year of game releases for the 360 and it will far surpass whatever we have seen on the Series X. Xbox used to be a huge innovator. Tell me what the Series X has innovated in. Backwards compatibility? Sure, a bit, but we had that on the 360 too. Microsoft is not innovating with video games. They are innovating how you consume them. Now, I could go in depth with Redfall about how every major red flag was ignored by leadership at ZeniMax, leadership at Arcane Austin, and leadership at Xbox. I could talk about how this game never should have been released in the state that it was, but my brain is genuinely starting to hurt. Phil constantly talks about how he's not going to push against the creative direction of his studios, and I can respect that. However, you can't be an absent father and just let the kids fucking do whatever they want. Somebody has to step in and say, we need a Slayer playlist for Halo. What the fuck is going on with Redfall? Okay, we lost 70% of our staff and everybody that remains wants the game to be canceled. Okay, we'll cancel it. Somebody has to come in and make the big decisions, okay? Instead, Redfall was promoted as a major first-party title and Hi-Fi Rush wasn't. What's the standard anymore? Everything I've just said has been building to what I'm about to say now. If there's anything I want you to take away from this video, it's this. Microsoft is a software company. They produce software. They do not produce entertainment. They buy entertainment and sell it like it's software. Video games are entertainment. Technically, they are software, I know. But Microsoft no longer has the ability to cultivate or establish successful long-term franchises on their own. Instead, they rely on buying them, on buying IPs with loads of promise before inevitably running them into the ground and shelving them forever. They've been doing this since at least 2008. If you want your franchise to die, sell it to Microsoft. They've killed every golden goose they've ever got their hands on, and they will kill yours too. The big difference between now and back then is Microsoft knew how to promote a game. They would cough up the dough. They had a keen business sense for what would do well and how to promote it. They would push back creatively to figure out what was most important in a game. You can see this in the Gears of War development behind the scenes videos. They push back on things like the Chainsaw Lancer to see how important it is to the developers. It's like, yes, the Chainsaw Lancer was real fucking important. We need it. Oh, okay. All right. You can have it. It's like a test to see how confident a studio is in their vision, what they think is important. In my opinion, the role of a publisher is to push on creative decisions to find where the gold is. Where are the golden ideas? Everything worked out for Gears 1, but that's partially because Microsoft was taking an active interest in the game, promoting it as a killer app. I do not see or hear about this level of involvement with Xbox leadership anymore. Not interference, not involvement, absence. So in conclusion, these studio shutdowns isolated aren't a big deal. It's when you look at the bigger picture that you understand how bad things are right now for Xbox. And you know, I still love Xbox, but I've been wanting it to get back on track for over a decade. You say you hate disappointing Xbox fans, but you disappointed me, Phil. And I'll continue to root for you guys and hope you do the right thing. And I'm just one guy, but I grew up with Xbox. And I can't tell you what it is anymore. But thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. It was a bit nihilistic and sad and depressing. Hopefully they can turn it around. I'll be streaming the Xbox Game Showcase on June 9th. So we'll see then. We'll see. What do you think about Xbox in its current state? Do you agree with what I said? Disagree? Let me know in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to The Act Man for more awesome content. All right, everyone, that's all I got for today. This is The Act Man signing out. Peace.